Hey everyone, today is July 20th, 2024, and this is a last minute video because this is about tomorrow's date, July 21st, the buck moon that I see as a very high watch date. One reason is because it is specifically shown in this image from iPetGoat. And we have not had a big event yet related to a buck moon since the video released in 2012. So July 21st at 6:17 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, it will reach peak illumination. And this other image from PetGo, when you reverse it horizontally, so you have to reverse it to see the 7-2 and the small 1. I believe the 72 are more prominent because it relates to another event connecting to the 72 number. But we do see the 7-1, which is the buck moon date. So that gives it even a higher watch date. It shows that a buck moon event is coming, and it has the date written in the eyebrows of George Bush when you reverse the image. And this definitely could be something related to a water event, whether it's a tsunami. It won't be a hurricane because there's no hurricanes occurring right now, and one's not going to form in the next 12 hours or so. But it could be just a flood, a big storm. Maybe it's not anything related to that, but we do see waves in his eyebrows. And speaking of the number 72, when you add up the date, tomorrow's date, 7 plus 21 plus 20 plus 24, it equals 72. And tomorrow's date also equals 52 when you add it, the short form. And flood does equal 52, as well as tsunami does equal 25. It's the reverse of 52. Sometimes you got to look at things in reverse as well. So there it is. It's showing the date 7-1, and it also shows a buck moon event. Now it gets even more interesting because we see once again, this could relate to multiple dates and meanings, as I said in other videos, but one of those dates could definitely be 7-1 because we see the backwards 7 from this angle. There's Obama's foot looking down. He sees the C7, but when you look at it backwards, 7, then 2 seeds in the apple, 1, 7-1. So one of the meanings of the apple, it could definitely mean an earthquake and something falling into the sea like a tsunami. So 7-1 on the apple. So here's another image of a full moon, the boy wearing the whirling dervish. And whirling dervish is associated with the country Turkey. And we did see the worst natural disaster of the year 2023, and it happened to hit Turkey on a full moon. And I think that was related to this image. But when you look closer, what do we see? Blown up. It looks like a buck. So another image related to the buck moon. So a couple other images from PetGo actually foretelling Trump getting shot in the upper right ear. So you might have already seen a few other YouTubers talk about this, and I believe that Theology Ed was the first one to point this out. The hole in the upper right ear, the rabbit connecting with Trump. This is definitely Trump here because we see the hair and the way he sits with his hands. Trump sitting with his hands forming the triangle. We see the letter M. Trump was shot on the 13th. There's a set of 12 characters here, and he has the third one representing the third month. I believe that also represents March 13th of 2020 because that's when Trump declared a national emergency due to COVID. But the connection here to this rabbit is because a male rabbit is known as a buck, and that's why they have the buck antlers behind Trump's head. So definitely foretold Trump getting shot in the upper right ear. So this event happened connecting to the buck right before the buck moon. And right after, we had the Republican National Convention held in the arena where the Milwaukee Bucks play. Then afterwards, the Secret Service director said the buck stops with me because she was being blamed for the lack of security due to Trump being shot. So on top of all that, we had Ken Buck resign this year on March 22nd. 322. And actually, Trump was shot. If you look at the time span and you include the end date, Trump was shot 3 months and 22 days after Ken Buck resigned on 322. Now here's an image of the 3 recent eclipses over the U.S. This was the October annular eclipse, the partial eclipse, on October 14th, 2023. Right here we have the August 21st, 2017. Then the recent one that happened just this year on April 8th. And Trump was shot right around here, right in the pathway of that total solar eclipse, right about at the edge of the totality. And it happened at 6:11 p.m. So what's interesting, the buck moon tomorrow will be exactly 6 years, 11 months after the 2017 total solar eclipse over the U.S. So I want to talk about the number 8 now, because we keep seeing this 8 connection continuing, and it plays into the buck moon as well coming up tomorrow. So Hurricane Beryl, well, that was the 8th time it was named Beryl as a storm. It was also mentioned 8 times in the Bible. It made its first landfall July 1st, 2024. When you reduce that using the rules of numerology, when you add numbers, 7 plus 1 equals 8. You add up the dates, the digits of the year equals 8. So you're left with 88 for its first landfall. What made its second landfall on July 5th? 88 days after the recent total solar eclipse over the U.S., April 8th. It made its third landfall on the 8th, but not only that, there's 176 days remaining in the year. Well, 88 plus 88 is 176. So I made a recent video talking about a possible event on July 11th. One possibility was a water event, a tsunami on the West Coast. We didn't have that, but it was very interesting that the largest earthquake of the year off the West Coast hit on July 11th. And that was a 6.4 at 8:08 a.m. Then going back to Beryl's second landfall, 88 days after the eclipse, making landfall on Mexico. Well, Trump was shot 8 days after that event. And look at the shooter's birth date, 9/20/03. 92003 is the 8,888th prime. And now what is the buck moon? The buck moon is 8 days after Trump was shot. So going back to that annular solar eclipse on October 14th, 2023 over the U.S., well, it actually passed through South America as well. And it ended in Brazil, specifically natal Brazil. And natal can mean birthplace. Well, natal actually also translates to Christmas in Brazilian Portuguese. And as I said, it means birthplace, and it's 40 weeks to give birth. Well, today actually is 40 weeks after this pass through natal Brazil, and 40 weeks in 1 day for tomorrow. So 40 weeks to give birth means birthplace. So this could be some sort of birthing ritual, because here in Pet Goat, we see what looks like Jesus or Horus, whatever it is. Some say it's the Antichrist, but anyways, they're relating the image to Jesus as well. And as I said, natal means Christmas. And I believe they're representing this as a birth, coming out of the birth canal. And what we have here is the water lily. And the water lily is one of the birth flowers for the month of July, along with the larkspur. So now look what happened in Brazil after this eclipse passed through. It had its largest earthquake in recorded history. On January 20th this year, a 6.6. And also Brazil had its worst flooding in 80 years, killing 100 people, and thousands were homeless. So one last slide from Obama's movie Leave the World Behind. It shows the buck on the front. This is the advertisement, and if you watch the movie, there's deer and buck all throughout the movie. And I knew for months ago that there was going to be an event related to the buck moon. And this is going to be the first buck moon since the movie released. And I think there might be two events because I definitely see something happening, likely related to this movie. July 6, 2028. That date is a lunar eclipse. I didn't put the slides in here, but it looks like in the beginning that they show a lunar eclipse. July 6 is 76, and I've seen 3 images in the movie related to the number 76. And I have some other connections too. And so I think, regardless of what happens tomorrow, this is another huge watch date, but it's still 4 years away. But we'll be watching tomorrow, because tomorrow is the first buck moon since this movie released. We saw all the buck connections with Trump getting shot, Milwaukee Bucks, that Republican National Convention, Ken Buck resigning, the buck stops here. I mean, they're telling us. It seems like it. If nothing happens, it's kind of weird, but I guess it's just connection to another year. Then I will be looking at this buck moon. So, but we'll see. Like I said, in Pet Goat, it shows the 721. It looks like waves, a water event, but we'll have to see. We don't have long to wait because we just have hours away till the buck moon arrives. So, and I will talk to you guys on the next video. Take care.